Greetings and welcome to the Skunts. By now, you should have gotten the news that Marcus Beetee Bugguhdown Bisram has been freed by the Caribbean Court of Justice. Even though I'm very upset about the outcome of that case, I do understand the court's decision. And I think it's important that I give you an update on what this skunt went down with this entire story from the beginning. Leave the intro quick and let me give you the sauce in summary.
Hey, something ever surprise you like when you see your gala? What?
Before we get into it, I have to do some usual housekeeping if you don't mind. Like the video, comment, watch skunt hey, or hashtag WSH for those of you who are too righteous to say the word skunt. And if you're new to Skuntville, don't be shy. Press that red and white subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you can get updates when we post new videos. Now let me tell y'all how this whole thing started and y'all gonna understand why I especially dislike this particular anti-man with name Marcus Bugguhdown Beetee Bisram. On October 31st, 2016, he, Beetee Bisram, hosted a party at his house at Lot 115 Section A, Number 70 Village in Quarantine, Berbice. The party followed a presentation ceremony in which gifts were given to the community policing group in the area. A youth by the name of Fayaz Naraindat was in attendance at this said party. It is alleged that Naraindat proceeded to the back of the premises to use the washroom, and Beetee Bisram followed him and feely up. The shocked Naraindat clapped a hot box in a modest skunt and they ended up in a scuffle, which resulted in Beetee Bisram being choked. Other guests were alerted to the commotion and parted the fight. It is against this backdrop that the story of Fayaz Naraindat's murder was painted. It is further alleged that the humiliated Marcus Beetee Bugguhdown Bisram ordered the youth killed, and 4 men from the same party carried out his order. The 4 men severely beat Mr. Naraindat with pickets and other objects until he was in an unconscious state, then took him to the number 70 public road, which they then ran him over with a vehicle to make his death look like a hit and run. About 3:45 on the morning of November 1st, the man's body was found on the roadside about a corner away from Beetee Bisram's house. The police first suspected that it was a hit and run as the conspirators planned, but the family mounted pressure on Ramjatan, who was Home Affairs Minister at the time, for a proper investigation to be carried out. The Major Crimes Unit of the CID were then called in and scrutinized the evidence, which led to charges on the 4 men who carried out the hit. The suspects confessed to the killing and named Beetee Bisram as the mastermind behind the murder. They said Beetee Bisram assured them that they would not get caught. One of the suspects gave first-hand details to investigators that included the fact that the car that was used to transport Mr. Naraindat to the public road was too low to run him over, so they had to go and get another vehicle. Imagine that. There are many witnesses that came forward and corroborated this account of what took place. Some of them even assisted the family in printing flyers to support their call for justice. Meanwhile, Beetee Bisram's mother and sister were caught attempting to bribe investigators who were looking into the murder. Kudos to the Major Crimes Unit for refusing that 4 million, by the way. They set up a sting operation and jogged their mother skunt. When the police finally thought they had enough to bring in Marcus Bugguhdown Beetee Bisram in for questioning, he had already left the jurisdiction. They then issued a wanted bulletin for him and were working with their US counterparts to extradite him back to Guyana so he could face his demons. And he did what all guilty people do. He moved to the courts in the USA in a bid to block his extradition back to Guyana. After a lengthy court battle, Judge Kuo, on a fateful day in October 2017, ordered Beetee Bisram's extradition to Guyana. This was especially significant because it is very rare for the US to extradite its citizens. Some of the findings that influenced Judge Kuo's decision were sworn affidavits by witnesses. We will get back to that later. Anyways, the authorities in the US had to follow procedures which delayed his extradition by another 2 years while he remained in jail there. But in 2019, his skunt was posted back to Guyana to face murder charges. The preliminary inquiry into the murder came to a shocking close in 2020 when Magistrate Renita Singh dismissed the matter after finding that the prosecution's case against Beetee Bisram was too weak.
Anytime, anywhere, any magistrate. Yes. We have nothing to hide because this wasn't a case of merit, it wasn't a case of law. This was a case with political direction and a religious prosecution from the DPP because the deceased is Muslim. This case is entirely fabricated by the state and the DPP, and I will not make any further comment because I plan to sue the state and I plan to bring private criminal action. The government of the then day and the caretaker government feel threatened by my accomplishment and my capability, but they cannot break me. MBBF, the Marcus Brian Bisram Foundation work will continue its selfless service and continue its commitment to contribute its annual $200 million every year in the form of humanitarian service to this country. That's all I will say at this moment. As I said and I indicated that there will be private criminal proceedings follow and the state will be sued. There must be consequences for this illegal action that's taking place in the 21st century in this country. Shame, shame.
Then Bups, only hours after his release, the bitch got rearrested. The Director of Public Prosecutions examined the case files and disagreed that there was not enough evidence and ordered the magistrate to reinstitute the murder charge, which resulted in the rearrest. Remember I mentioned those witnesses that influenced Judge Kuo's decision to extradite Beetee Bisram earlier? Well, hear this. Because of how the murder was carried out, it would be very difficult for investigators to gather physical evidence against Beetee Bisram because of the fact that he was not the one who physically carried out the act himself. If he was committed to stand trial in the High Court, there is a high probability that a jury of his peers would have found him guilty after the witnesses would have given their sworn testimony in court. The DPP knew this, and Beetee Bisram's lawyers also knew this. So their defense strategy was to prevent him from being committed to stand trial in the High Court, which is why they challenged the DPP's decision to instruct the magistrate to commit the matter over to the High Court. Later in 2020, Justice Simon Morris Ramlal ruled that the DPP's instructions were unlawful and the bitch got freed again. In the interest of seeing justice served, the DPP moved to the Guyana Court of Appeal to get Justice Morris Ramlal's ruling overturned and was successful. If there is one thing we know about Beetee Bisram for sure, is that his money lang. So using his lang money, a team of lawyers took the matter all the way to the Caribbean Court of Justice, where they got a favorable ruling that the DPP is not an organ of the judiciary and therefore cannot instruct a magistrate. By the way, the names of the men who confessed to carrying out the murder are Haripal Parasaram, Radesh Moti, Niran Yakub, Deodath Dat, and there's a fifth name, Orlando Dickey, that comes up in some reporting. So what happens now? In order for Marcus Beetee Bugguhdown Bisram to be committed to stand trial, the police will have to introduce new evidence to support a reopening of the case. For those of you who are thinking about double jeopardy, I myself was wondering about that. But the CCJ in its ruling cleared it up. Double jeopardy is a judicial principle that a person should not be tried for the same crime twice. The CCJ highlighted that Beetee Bisram was never in jeopardy because his case never went to trial. What this means in short is that he is not completely off the hook. And if the police could bring more evidence, his stunt will be in handcuffs again. As for me, I've been following this matter from the very beginning and I will continue to keep my eye on this Marcus Beetee Bugguhdown Bisram. I never mentioned this, but this cunt hole sent threats to my colleagues in Guyana. I'm gonna catch you and clap a hot box in his cunt when I see. Some people feel they could buy anything in this place, but I am unpurchasable. All I care about is the truth. I hope that someday the family of Fayaz Narayandat could get the justice they deserve for the gruesome murder of their loved one. And Mr. Narayandat, continue to sleep in peace, bro. We will fight for justice on your behalf. Let's keep the discussion going in the comments. What do you think about this whole thing? Do you think Beetee Bisram would have been in jail if he wasn't rich? Check out these other videos from the channel that YouTube thinks you would like. My name is Mudwata. Boom out!
Hold up.